Yo, yo, what's going on, everybody? Yosta is here. Welcome to the interview with Sē'bum Gold, Rick Sprowl. Be waiting on everybody to join and show up. Looking forward to this one for sure. Hope everybody's having a good night. Speak of Sē'bum, there he is.
I don't see anything yet. You're still loading in. I can hear you though. Okay. Interesting. What's going on, Dave? Good to see you, buddy. Try maybe switching your camera to the other side, see what happens. Hey, there we go.
Okay, so it's the back camera, so I can't see you.
Okay.
Am I lined up with you okay?
Yep, actually works perfectly.
Okay, great. It's weird talking to my phone, but
Yeah, it's got to be for sure. I'm waiting for some more people to join.
okay.
So we'll take a minute. So you were on vacation?
Sure. Yeah, well, mini trips, because I still had work. I had a lot of product to get ready, which I just went live on my storefront just before the show. So I was
Gotcha.
back and forth. I went to Newport, Block Island, a couple days there, a couple days here.
Gotcha. Can you bring your phone down just a little bit? You're cutting off right below the nose, right above the nose.
Like this?
Yes, there we go.
Is that good? I'll just
that
try to
works.
sit up high.
Somebody, or Dave Kelly said, "Nice hat." They like
Nice
your hat.
what?
Nice hat.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we got a little bit of group of people started, or little group of people here. So let's get into who you are, and let's talk about Sē'bum. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Rick Sprowl, Sē'bum Gold. Been in business for about 1 year and 8 months now. Entered the market with a post-shave serum. I think I created the category in the wet shaving community. There's a few serums out there since my arrival. But that's my focus, is skincare. One of our slogans is skincare for you, skincare for the earth, because I take not using plastic in my packaging extremely seriously. Everything you buy today is plastic, and I don't think I'm necessarily making a difference, but I think I'm providing options that might appeal to people. And I think it just looks better. It just looks more luxurious. It, personalizes it. It personifies the naturalness of the product inside the packaging. I do make shaving soap, but that was more at the behest of my customers. I've been making that shaving soap for myself for 4 years, way before I ever started. Yeah, for myself, for my personal use. But we can get into those details, down the road if you want to discuss more personally. Yeah.
Absolutely. But go ahead, continue.
So I was just looking at the wet shaving market. Most men don't take care of their skin. Wet shavers particularly, because they get wrapped up in that tradition of alcohol splash.
Yeah.
And alcohol splash is really bad for your skin. Most people might gripe about that, but I think most people kind of know that, and they just don't care because the tradition means so much and the scent, and they want to follow what people in the past did. But, alcohol splash was never meant to be good skincare. It was invented by barbers at the turn of the century, the 20th century, to mitigate business risks. There were no antibiotics back then, and they used the same straight razor every day. So if they gave you a staph infection, you were in trouble, and as a business, they were in trouble. So it was nothing more than mitigating risk. But now it's become a totally different thing, where it's like enjoyed for the scent and the tradition. And that's kind of why I make my packaging resemble the 1800s, because I understand people like to feel that tradition of the past. But what's in it is completely modern, and I developed based on science, to mimic your natural lipid barrier. And that took a lot of research. It wasn't just mixing ingredients that are good for your skin. It had to have purpose. And the purpose was to mimic your natural lipid barrier. Okay. And I think I accomplished that. So.
Absolutely. So why did you feel there was a need to create the product that you did? if you knew that everybody was using the alcohol splashes and it was selling well, why did you decide to go against that?
I guess that's my personality. I actually, before I released the product, I joined Badger and Blade, and I started to kind of write, not dissertations, but write like articles about my theories, and believe me, everyone hated me. Like, I was challenging why people are using alcohol splash. Why are you using an alum block, which is aluminum salt, and you rub it in the face? Because they used to dry fish for preservation with salt. It just doesn't make sense. Maybe if you have a nick, but a lot of guys will use an alum block to see how good their shave was. Like, oh, if it stings a lot, it was a bad shave. If it stings very little, it was a good shave. I don't think you need to go for that step to find out if your shave's good or not. It's just bad for your skin. And I don't believe in astringents. I don't believe in, it's a wives' tale that your follicles close. And most people, they have this idea that they want to close their follicles because they think they're preventing dirt and bacteria from getting inside the follicle.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. What happens is when you use an astringent, it breaks down the keratin protein that lines your follicle wall. And when that breaks down, it appears that they close temporarily, but what you're doing, you're obstructing the natural flow of sebum, which is what cleans away all that bacteria and dead skin cells. So you're actually getting in the way of the natural function of the pore when you're trying to close it. So I just think there's a lot of bad information out there and bad practices. And I knew it would be a struggle to go against the grain, but you get your early adopters, and you grow from there organically. And I have a lot of customers that are very happy to have met my products, and they report how good their skin's doing. A handful of them have sold off their alcohol collections completely. So I think it's just baby steps, and I'm getting there. And I think when you see other people come out with post-shave serums, the message is catching on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I've noticed that just with the industry alone is that there is so much mimicking and trying to catch up with not necessarily the fad, but the new trend, whether it's, badger knots with hooks on the end of them, or they're treated tips with the gel tips, or like you said, the serum. I've noticed that as well too. But there again, those serums are not within the spectrum of your products as far as packaging, quality. Now, granted, I haven't tried all the different serums, so I can't justify that, but you're in a different realm. You're on a much higher price, and 90% of everyone who has ever seen the products of mine that I've posted have said the first comments were, "Man, those are so expensive," but they don't think of what is in the product. They just see the product for the cost and not what the benefits and the long-term effects are.
Well, that's because a lot of people keep calling it aftershave. Aftershave to me insinuates alcohol splash. It's not aftershave. So you're like, oh, it's $125 for aftershave. You have the green, which is a little more expensive. My prices vary because I use essential oils. I don't use petrochemical fragrance oils. Okay. And essential oils are far more expensive than fragrance oils. I mean, I can buy a 16 bottle of fragrance oil from $20 to $40. My essential oil blends cost $300 to $500 for that same 16-ounce bottle. So that's a huge cost than using fragrance oils. But that's my philosophy. No synthetics. Nothing synthetic. I don't believe in it. And I'm a big believer in aromatherapy. So my first 4 serums, I didn't build them around scents. I actually built them around a goal, an aromatherapy goal. Okay. Like this one, anti-aging. This one is better for oily skin. This one is better for inflammation. This one is more antioxidant, fights free radicals. And it wasn't until green when I said I'm going to try to focus on scent, because I think I covered everything I need to cover from an aromatherapy perspective. So I wanted to make a green scent, and green scents don't particularly appeal to me, but I'm trying to make things for other people. And in the process, I ended up loving it, because I guess when you're developing it, you're going with your own nose anyway, so you're going to end up liking it, even if you thought you wouldn't like it. But I still kept intact the aromatherapy values. There are such oils that aren't good for your skin, so I stay away from them. Even if I want a certain scent, I don't use them. Like in green, I don't use oak moss, because oak moss is considered a sensitizer. It's actually banned in the EU. They're much stricter than the US. So I had to create a moss scent without using oak moss. And I think I accomplished that. And,
Hey, let me cut you off really quickly. Everybody, his front camera is broken. So everything that you guys are typing, I have to relay to him in order for us to be able to see him. He's using his back camera. So he's going through some struggles right now. But can you bring your phone down a little more? People saying we're losing your mouth again.
oh, man.
Or maybe have better posture. There
Yeah,
you go.
have better posture. I was getting too relaxed.
There you go. No, that's much better. Everyone's saying so far is they're really appreciating this value and the fact that, somebody's looking for men's skincare, long-term skincare versus just, selling a fragrance or a product.
And people think it's expensive because it's sticker shock because they're not used to this world. But if you look in the women's market, who have been using serums in general, the median price range in the women's market is $60 for an ounce. It's very common to sell serums in 1 ounce or 1.7 ounce bottles, but when I was approaching the market, I'm like, men want manly stuff, and I couldn't customize a bottle if it was too small, so I went with the 5 ounce, and I felt like I was giving people a value at $25 an ounce with the Sē'bum Gold, when the median price range is $60. And also, the amount of labor that goes into that bottle, it's like 30 minutes of labor. You can't tell from that little video on my website because
It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm showing the guys the bottle right now. I loved watching that video of you like showing the cork and and drilling it. I would love to watch you dip them in wax. Double dip, by the way, guys. He has the white first, just purely cosmetic. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just a nice little extra touch. He has to wait for it to dry, trim it off, then he dips it all in gold or in this kind of a goldish green wax here. And the cork too is, like I said, one piece. And I don't mean to take your thunder, but I remember watching your video and was I've really enjoyed it. And you were saying like you use a one-piece cork versus the ones that are pieced together with particle board because potentially the glue can leach into the product, contaminating the product.
Yep, glomerate cork.
And everything he has here is natural and recyclable. The labels are wood, even the little droppler inside of here, the little restrictor, that's aluminum. So yeah, that's something you're not going to get, guys, with the other stuff on the product. So just think of this in mind when you're listening to him explain about his product and why he is at a little bit higher price point. All right, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, those corks, they're not off the shelf. You can't buy those. So everything I do is difficult because I knew this would catch on eventually, and I knew there would be imitators. Imitators always copy innovators. And I was like, that generally means they're lazy. Nobody's going to copy this packaging because it's just too much work.
Yeah.
And now I have kind of trade dress protection, I have a lot of ads that say, look for the stripe in the hat because, that's a way to invest in my protection of that packaging. They call it trade dress protection. And it's very difficult to protect unless you take these marketing steps that I've taken for down the road. But yeah, if you want something that's made by hand, that's what I think real artisan products are, is you're making something by hand, not to mimic what big companies do and just copy them on a small scale and charge more because it's small scale, To me, that's like a cottage industry. And I think you need to raise the bar, because I don't even feel like an artisan. I feel like my packaging is artisan, but I feel like my products are scientific. Like I don't, the artisan word's a tough word for me to wrap my head around, except for my packaging. But, everything's about details. I always am thinking, and I've made adaptations to my products when I think I can make it look better. I do it. Maybe you want to talk about the soap, or I don't know.
Yeah, I was reading through the comments real quick. Pardon me.
Yeah, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Absolutely. It looks like most of them are just, very interested in what you have to say. I see somebody said, hold on, trying to go back. It seems expensive compared to the regular splashes, but look at niche fragrances. They are raved about. So I guess he's talking about, the small perfumers that also are very, very expensive too. And people don't realize that you're not necessarily just paying for pretty packaging, you're paying for a great product too. And that's the thing too, is that I try to justify in my review of the product is, it's expensive. That's the sticker shock gets most of the wet shavers because, most of us are used to dropping $40 to $70 for a set. And,
Yeah.
It's a little more expensive, but you're paying for the, the better ingredients, the experience. The whole thing is amazing. And if you guys are buying to Lather Hog, by the way, I saw your comment. Give me a second. You guys are paying for the product and experience, but if you're buying 2 and 3 or 4 mail calls a month, that can easily justify the purchase of it. So I think that's something you need to think about as well, too. Lather Hog said, how did you come up with your name?
I had many people tell me not to use that name, and I had once I entered the market, there's definitely a few wet shavers out there that mock the name. But the way I looked at it was, Sē'bum has a bad name. It's been stigmatized by all the marketing from astringents. So they go, get rid of Sē'bum. It's bad for you, and it's the opposite is true. You can get unbalanced, and then it's bad for you based on other products you use could imbalance you. If you don't drink enough water, if you drink too much alcohol, the environment you're in. Sē'bum is not a bad word; it just has a bad stigma. And since I was looking to replicate, your natural lipid barrier, I thought that was the name to go with, just to add a new meaning to the word, get rid of the stigma. I thought it was the most direct and bravest route to do. And now I see people mention my brand, and there's no giggles. They just say it like it's in their head as a brand now, not something that's on your skin.
Exactly.
And it's just bad marketing. Astringents ruined that word. But now, astringents, they don't call them astringents anymore. They call it toners. Oh, it's a toner. Because astringent started getting a bad name.
Yeah,
so now they call it a toner. It's like a salesman is now an account executive. People just change the name,
A janitor is a sanitary technician.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just wordplay, right? So I thought I'd just go the most direct route, add a couple accent marks to make it look fancier. And
yeah, I like that. Well, nice. And I love the wood labels. Now, you said that you make everything by hand. Now, do you make your labels too?
I hand cut them. I hand cut them, and I add that foil effect to them by hand. But I do have them, I do have them sent out to be printed, but then I touch them up with the foil and I cut everything by hand.
What kind of wood are you using?
On the Serum bottles, I'm using curly maple wood. And on the soap, I use Hawaiian koa wood.
Okay. So yeah, let's go. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, guys, we're going to talk about the shave soap now, because let's talk about this in case you guys are curious about the soap itself. We've been talking about the serum. So go ahead and tell me about the soap and how that all started.
Well, I've been making the soap for myself for 4 years. I have a small software company. That's how I made my living for the last 10 years. And I started making soap through my discovery of aromatherapy. Not the typical, like, just making soap for sensitive skin stuff, but through aromatherapy. And soap was a good medium for me to practice that in.
Okay.
And, bar soap like everybody else, but then I eventually made my own shaving soap. I've been making it for 4 years. But I didn't think there was any money in the soap I wanted to make. I wasn't going to bring it to market. One, if I came out with a post-shave serum that was expensive, at least I was creating a product category. If I came to the market with a shaving soap that expensive, I would have been, completely laughed out of the marketplace immediately as an unknown person.
Sure.
Plus, there was no money in shaving soap for me. The way I make it, there's no money in it. And my serum customers, some of them you get to be friendly with, and you talk about things outside of your product, and you get personal with them. And they're like, "Oh, well, what do you like to use for shaving soap?" I'm like, "Oh, I make my own shaving soap." They're like, "What? You make your own shaving soap? I have to have your shaving soap because they want. Everybody wants the match." And I was like, "I don't know. There's no real money. It's going to be expensive." And so what ultimately decided was the soap serves two purposes for me. It allows me to make my customers happy that are loyal and buying my serum, and it helps bring other customers into the fold that might not want to get the serum but are curious about the soap.
Sure.
And then that might be serum sales. To me, the soap's like a lost leader. Like, it's not a moneymaker. It's to help the business in other ways. If I had to just sell soap, I would close the doors because there's just no money in it. My soap's very expensive, not to you, but to my cost. So none of the reviewers have touched a few reviewers say good soap, you're paying for the packaging. You are paying for packaging, but it's not just that. You're paying for the cost of ingredients. It's far more expensive to make my soap. I'm not using stearic acid that's chemically processed like other soap makers. Stearic acid's the backbone of shaving soap. I mean, it allows for the lather to stay stable so it doesn't dissipate on you. And it's the most important ingredient to shaving soap in that sense. And your typical soap maker is going to use 50 to 70% of stearic acid in their product. So the product's at least half stearic acid. I use cocoa butter, and Olive butter to some degree also has high stearic acid, but cocoa butter, so if you want to compare costs, you're comparing my cocoa butter cost to that other soap maker's stearic acid cost. My cocoa butter costs 7 times as much as stearic acid. It's 7-fold the cost of stearic acid. But I'm only charging roughly double the average per ounce price for the soap. The average price I'd say in the market is about $4 an ounce. That would put you at $16 for a 4-ounce tub. Well, I'm charging $8 to $9 an ounce, about double the price, but my cost is at least 7 times more. And then when you get into the essential oils, you know, my cost is about 10 times more. It varies, but essential oils are far more expensive. And then my packaging is 10 times more expensive than those plastic tubs. My wood label costs as much as those Parkway tubs.
Wow.
Just my wood label costs that. So when people might be thinking I'm taking them for a ride with this outrageous price and I'm just trying to get them on packaging and tricking them, that's the wrong perception. It costs a lot more. I'm actually giving you a good deal when you think about what I'm charging based on my cost input. And I do that to create serum sales, quite frankly, to keep everyone happy and to drive the serum sales. Like I said, I wouldn't do this if I was just selling soap. I wouldn't be in business.
Sure. And that's one thing I've noticed, guys, and even you with Rick, is that, serum, it's lightweight, it's non-oily, it's made, my skin's a lot smoother. It's something that you can obviously use as good for your skin. And I think it's really nice. And just like I said, your product, your packaging, everything looks great. And you have to realize, like Rick was saying, what all the amount of oils and stuff that go in it. And this is why it's so much more expensive than the normal stuff you see on the market. But this is why this interview has been so good, because it allows you to kind of explain everything and people can kind of get a better perception of this.
Sure. Yeah,
and
so what I would say is...
Somebody said, but what if somebody wanted to try the product without all to pay for the excessive packaging? Would you ever consider dumbing down the package, or is this what it is?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I'm creating a high-end brand here, and I take pride in what I make. I do have some samples I did play with, and I would produce maybe a sample set for somebody like that. But I'm having trouble with the supply on the small jars. I use 1-ounce jars for my samples.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily know that you'd save money because my samples are 1 ounce versus the typical 1/4 ounce. And I jazz up the packaging even on my samples because that's just, nothing leaves this house without looking its best. And that's just the attitude I have with it. So there will be a point where people can buy maybe the soap set when those jars are back from my supplier. But it's not a priority for me, As a solo business person, you have so much work to do as it is that I'm not that interested in the samples. I'll make them when I can, but it's not a priority for me now.
Gotcha. Understand. Somebody else said it's a huge barrier to entry for anyone who might end up liking the product. And I guess just meaning that there's no other tiers or options. But guys, if you join late, and like I said, I'm not trying to sway you here. This isn't the point of the live, but just from a standpoint of somebody who likes to buy stuff, especially with these, mail calls coming out and with all these new releases coming out, the only way that I personally justify this is, skip a few of the mail calls. This is something you can purchase and ultimately is good for your skin. But I understand your hesitation because it is a much higher end product, but now you kind of get an idea of where he's coming from with the amount of time and effort and ingredients that are put into it and why it is on such a different price point than pretty much everything else on the market. But even still, I was trying to think of things too. You have Art of Shaving, and Art of Shaving is a big company, and I still think their stuff is very pricey and is not very good. The packaging's nice, and everything's wrapped up nice, but ultimately I don't think what they're charging is worth the price. But, you're within that kind of upper tier there, and I think the product that you're putting out is worth the price.
You know what it is? They call it a hobby. So when you're doing something as a hobby, you just want to get your hands on everything. So it's almost like volume of products is more important to you. But I'm trying to create a lifestyle brand, which might not fit into a hobby lifestyle, because the lifestyle is taking care of yourself with the best possible skincare you can have. Yeah. So to me, a guy rotates my product once a month. That's not really taking care of your skin. If someone goes to the gym, they don't work out once a month. They have to continuously repeat that lifestyle. So I'm trying to create a lifestyle product, and it works. And not everybody that buys my serum is a wet shaver. 30% of my customers are just men looking to take care of their skin and might not know a thing about wet shaving. Yeah. Maybe now that I sell soap, maybe that might bring them aboard or help them discover wet shaving.
Dave just said, I agree with Brian, but how does one skip mail calls? Well, and honestly, I get where he's coming from. It's fun, it's new, it's exciting, it's something new to share with everybody and create a conversation. That's the whole fun of this, the wet shaving hobby. Granted, I love wet shaving. It's fun, it feels good, it makes my skin great. But ultimately, I love the collection. I love the interaction with people. I've met so many awesome people through this community that I never would have known in my entire life if it wasn't for this crazy hobby. So I think, that alone is awesome. But when it comes down to it, Dave, the point is we're here to make our face better. And if there's a product on the market that can do that, that's natural from a small guy who's not, Clinique or some big company who's putting out a subpar product, he's putting his time and effort into it. I think you can justify putting off a few of the mail calls to justify a purchase of at least the serum. I think the first, after about 2 uses, yes, I'm wearing a turtle shirt. Thank you, Leatherhug. All things saying is that I think ultimately for your skin, this is great. And I did a live shave earlier today, Rick, and I had used a splash for the first time since I got your product. And without even thinking about it, I put it on. But all of a sudden, I went to go feel my face, and I'm like, oh, it feels all tight and weird. I'm like, you know what? I forgot to put the serum on. So immediately after using your product for a week, I can automatically tell a difference after switching to the alcohol splash. And yes, Dave, you can use the serum on all parts of your face. I use it my nose, my forehead, around my eyes. I've noticed a lot of my wrinkles are starting to diminish. Granted, I wasn't super wrinkly to begin with, but it was something that I noticed, and they have smoothed out a lot.
Another benefit of the serum that I'm making is there's no water in it. Like a lot of these high-end serums, like my girls at Armani, they sell a 1-ounce serum for $420. And the first ingredient on the list is water. And, ingredients go in order of abundance. Yeah. So they're saying we use more water in this than any other ingredient. Yeah. But they market all the wonderful ingredients, like, oh, so-and-so for your skin. But they're mixing with water. And once you introduce water to a product, you now need preservatives. You now need emulsifiers because water and oil don't mix. So that's when you get all these petrochemicals put in the product. With mine, I don't use preservatives because there's no water. Without water, there is no way for life to exist, bacteria to grow. So that's why I can use a preservative-free product, because I don't add water to my product. So you're getting all good ingredients. It's not being watered down and then marketing the good ingredients. And most of the products out there, you're buying a lot of water.
Yeah, and I've noticed that. But that brings me to another very good question. If you're not using any water and you have no preservatives, what's the shelf life on a product of something like yours, whether it be the soap or the serum?
Sure. Well, you're not going to grow bacteria, so you're not going to have anything grow. But what happens with oils is they can oxidize. So they say they go rancid. It's from oxidization. And if something is rancid, you'll know it. Okay. But, I can guarantee 3.5 years because some of the oil, like jojoba oil, it's a wax monoester. It's not even a real oil, even though it's called jojoba oil. It's okay. Very stable. And that helps stabilize the life of all the oils. They say jojoba oil can almost go on indefinitely, but the manufacturer will always tell you 5 years. So I'd say my product's good for 3.5 years, but you'll know if there's something wrong with it because you'll be able to smell that it's rancid. But
I think that's a valid question just across the whole community is, it's blown up a lot in the past couple of years. Granted, I know it's been around for a long time, but I've got into it within the last 3 or 4 years. But I'm just curious, the oldest soap that I own is probably creeping on 4 years and still looks okay. I'm just curious if I'm going to come into my bathroom one day and open up half of them and they're going to look like a petri dish.
No, because soap is highly alkaline. So the alkalinity makes it so that nothing can grow in it. So soaps don't need preservatives. A lot of the big companies, they put preservatives in their soap anyways, but they don't need it. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen to your soap is the scent fades.
Okay.
But I mean, you should be fine unless it was heavily superfatted. If it was heavily superfatted, those oils can go rancid, but they're not going to grow bacteria. It's from orange spots or dreaded orange spots. So you'll know it's not going to be dangerous. It's just going to be not nice to use.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, good. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time coming on tonight. If there's anything else you want to add, go ahead. The floor is yours. I appreciate you coming on, taking your time. If not, I think we're done here. I appreciate your time and effort.
Where are we on the clock?
We are sitting at about 32 minutes.
Oh, I only get a half hour. You like to interview everybody else for an hour?
We can talk about anything else more you want.
Oh, maybe I can field some questions if there are any questions out there.
Yeah, I've still been reading. Nothing else is coming on. The last one we had was the shelf life. Let me run through them real quick. And somebody said, the serum using on all parts of your face. I think everything else has been answered. And somebody else said I was thinking the same thing. Good question.
Okay.
Do you have anything new coming out? Are you doing the soap in all of your different lines?
Yes, I mean, that's kind of what you have to do once you start introducing a soap. You have to match it. Yeah. So I'm working on an aqua for the summer. I'm a little bit behind. It probably would have been better to release it in June, but it's going to come out in probably mid-July.
Okay.
Basically, creating an aqua scent is very difficult with essential oils. I don't think people really do it. They claim to do it, but usually it's just when aqua came out, there was a chemical called cologne, C-A-L-O-N-E, and they use that in all the aqua fragrances for the most part. It's a synthetic chemical, and what happened was they were trying to create an artificial watermelon. And it was kind of a mishap, but what they discovered was it smelled like the ocean. And that's why we had all these aqua crazes. They're a very modern invention. So yeah. I'm trying to do that with just essential oils, and I think I got it. It.
Nice.
That's interpretation, I guess. We'll have to find out.
Yeah. Somebody said, are you based in Boston?
That's right, Boston.
Okay, cool. Now, you have, how many different lines do you have? You have 3 or 4?
I have 5.
Okay.
I just stocked the store 10 minutes before the interview. So yeah, I have 5 product lines. I have gold, purple, latte, blue, and green.
Before we dive into those different products you have, somebody said, my wife wants to know if you're going to make hair products too. Also, anything for ladies in the future?
Well, I have women that buy my serum now. I don't think my product discriminates against sex. I mean, my packaging might look very masculine, and I definitely market to men, but it doesn't mean, they have skin too. It's designed like ours to a high extent. My girlfriend uses my products. Women do buy my products. Not as many as men. I'd say I have maybe 3% of my customers are women. It's not really marketed towards them, but I say try my serum that I already have. I'm not really going to change the packaging to target women or anything like that. No.
Sure.
And as far as hair products, no. Nope.
Okay.
I mean, I put the serum in my hair. I stopped using like pomades, and I just put a little in my hair because I have very dry, frizzy hair when I get out of the shower. So it's just something to tone the frizziness.
Okay, there you go. They said, what's your favorite place to grab a lobster roll?
My favorite place to grab a lobster roll? I'd have to say the Barking Crab, but more so for the entertainment and live music than their actual lobster roll.
Oh, okay. That's the thing too. Is I noticed. What's that?
If anyone knows Sully's on Castle Island, you can get like a lobster roll for $13. It's the cheapest lobster roll I've ever heard of, and it's because they only pay $1 to lease the facility at Castle Island. They had a deal with the government. They pay $1, and that's it. So they have very low overhead. So the lobster rolls are $13.
Latherhog thanks you for that answer. I've never been up to Boston, so I can't help on that question whatsoever. But back to your different lines. Why do you have different lines, and what is the difference between them?
Well, like I said, I created them based on more of an aromatherapy goal, and I was like, all right, I don't want it to smell bad, but I wasn't necessarily going for the scent. So gold was, is the baby. I mean, I pushed that for almost a year before I even turned out another product. That strategy is called minimum viable product. Make one good product and just push the hell out of it. And if you can break through with that, then you can bring on other product lines. I think a lot of new artisans, they might be overwhelmed with all these guys that are already established, and they see 6, 9, 10. Some people have 70 different product lines.
Sure.
I wonder if that bother you. Make one good product, and then once you establish yourself, you can focus on variety, which is important, but don't try to overwhelm yourself when you're starting out. You don't want to just push product. Sorry?
I said quality, not quantity.
Yeah, and I was dealing with a different product too, a different category. So there was a lot of education to put across, and there's a lot of barriers with my product because you have to educate people, and I think that's slowly happening. And the best thing is early adopters and them sharing their experience with people, because it doesn't really matter what comes from my mouth. People want to hear from other people that don't have any attachment to selling my product.
Absolutely.
But so gold started off with an anti-aging. I was going for an anti-aging formula.
Okay.
And not everything I put in gold smells good, but there was definitely, I was going to use geranium, and it just smelled awful to me. So that got pulled out just because it smelled really bad. But for the most part, I didn't focus on scent. I just wanted it not to smell bad. And I came up with a winner, and it's probably the thickest of my serums.
Okay.
And then I came up with purple, which was the opposite spectrum, which is more for oily skin. It's marketed as lavender and mint, but there's more essential oils in it than just lavender and mint.
Okay.
And that's designed for oily skin. And then the latte was designed for heavy antioxidants, which fights a lot of free radical damage that you might get from the sun. So if you have very damaged or sun-damaged skin, all my serums have antioxidants in them, but this hypes up that level of antioxidant in the formula.
Okay.
And then blue is just phenomenal. It's most people probably won't get to try blue because it's extremely expensive. It's made with some of the very exotic essential oils. In fact, only one note in blue is even available as a synthetic fragrance oil. That's how rare these are. The other ingredients, there's not even a synthetic fragrance substitute to mimic it. So it's very rare. It's very hits you in the face from a scent perspective. I describe it as tart and herbaceous and reminiscent of wild blueberries. But there's no blueberry essential oil. There's no such thing as a blueberry essential oil. You can't get essential oils from blueberries. But that's what it kind of smells like. And it's really high on if you have suffer from really red spots, those people with the ruddy skin all the time, it's always red and irritated looking. Definitely somebody with something like that should try blue if they can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you said you have, now what is the green line? Is that just purely based on the essential oils and the fragrances, or is there actual different properties in the oil, in the serum?
Well, I did focus on the scent, but from an aromatherapy standpoint, it's kind of like a cross between gold and blue. Some anti-aging properties, not as strong as gold. Some anti-inflammation properties, not as strong as blue. But I was pursuing a scent from that, as long as I didn't use anything that could harm your skin or was bad for your skin. Like I said, I didn't use oak moss, which is the most popular go-to.
Sure.
It's a banned allergen from the EU. So I practice the safest standards I can practice, even if they're not imposed by our government.
Sure. Now, guys, if you're still on the fence about it, something to consider as well is just, the overall, like I said, the skin benefits that you get from it. Don't look at this as just another mail call. This is something that you're investing in for your overall skin health. And I think that's one thing that's different than what a lot of the other products are, is just to smell good. This is also to help your skin in the long run.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about cost, I didn't create this statistic, but a lot of the wet shavers were like, how much per use does it cost? And they came up with, you can find this Sē'bum Gold review on Badger and Blade. It was one of the first reviews I ever got from a customer. And he figured it out to be 422 uses from a 5-ounce bottle. And I think he narrowed that down to something like 20 cents a use. Where alcohol splash, you're kind of pouring it, slapping it all over you. You're only using a small amount. I mean, you can vouch for that. You need very little of this product.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you look at it from that point of view, it's not expensive at all. Maybe the initial purchase is expensive, but you're talking about the longevity versus a $20 splash. You're going to go through that splash. I don't know how many uses you get out of an alcohol splash, but maybe one of you guys know that answer to that.
Well, the other thing, too, is a lot of us are heavy pourers, myself included. I tend to put a pool in my hand before I slather it all over my entire body. But this, what's nice about your little applicator, too, is I can just give it 2 precise shakes and almost get the exact amount I need every single time.
Yeah, well, I figure I didn't want people spilling valuable product. Like I watch what people don't like about products, and they get something with a cork in it, and then they got this wide opening, and they're spilling it, or they're like, it's just not practical, or they get like a pipette that they have to like keep track of, and then it gets dirty, and then you're sticking it in your product. So, I wanted to develop a self-contained system. I figure, if you're going to make a luxury product, you should make it convenient to use.
Sure, absolutely. So, guys, there's obviously, go check out his website, because there are different products in different degrees, different levels, different skin types. But if somebody is, wanting to start to pull the trigger and maybe possibly venture over into that and start making their skin better, do you steer them towards the gold, or do you tell them to look for what their skin needs?
Yeah, people generally email me privately, and I tell them my recommendations. But I think a lot of people, they just want to try it all because it all works. They don't really, I think wet shavers are more concerned about scent. They're like, oh, if it's going to be good for my skin, great, but what's it smell like? And I think that's what's really steering them. But I will advise them what I think is best for their skin. A lot of guys buy it all, and they want, the guys who do want to change their lifestyles, but they still want variety, that they're buying all my products, so that way they don't get bored. But yeah, I mean, that's really a personal choice. I will steer you to the right product for your skin, but I think ultimately wet shavers are guided by scent more than anything.
And I think that's where. I do have one question that I'm going to get to real quick. But one thing I want to mention real quick, guys, and like Rick brought up too, is that we're tied to scent. And I know I mentioned this during my review too. I don't look at the Sē'bum green scent as a scent that I look forward to, like something that I want to wear and project to people to smell. I think it's more or less, I look at the performance and the longevity and the skin healing benefits more than I do the scent. I think the scent is something that just has to be there and is a nice experience, but it's not something, it's not the forefront. I think when it comes to the soap now, like you said, we look for the scent and what it's going to smell like. You have to kind of look the opposite direction and look as what is this product going to do for my skin, and the scent kind of comes secondary. Not saying it smells bad, but I don't.
Well, I actually like green, so I'll have to disagree with you. Green is one of my favorites because I actually developed that with my nose first and aromatherapy second. So, but that's the way noses work. So.
Absolutely, and it's not a bad scent by any means. My son, my 15-year-old son, said I could smell this all day. He absolutely loved it, and I agree. It's a very fresh, outdoorsy, woodsy, mossy scent, but personally, it wouldn't be something that I would want to project and have people smell it for, smell it. But that's why when I look at your product and I try and reason with myself, why am I going to purchase this, or why is this worth a purchase? I look at what I'm doing for my skin, not how it's going to make me smell. And I think that to me is more important than what it smells like.
I've watched your videos for a long time. I've been a subscriber to your YouTube channel when I think you had 15 subscribers. If you remember, I reached out to you and I said, hey, your Instagram channel has a different name than your YouTube channel. You should make them, the same so that there's continuity. And so you changed the name. So I reached out to you way back then. So I've been watching you, and I know your personality, and I think I've seen you say you like things with spice in it. So gold would probably be a more appropriate product for your nose.
Okay.
But I said, so, you know.
But you know what though? That to me, the sense is not as important as to granted, I knew nothing. I really didn't know much about you other than you sold expensive ass products that I've heard from a select full of guys in the community said were just fantastic. Now, before we did our interview, you don't know this, I reached out to about 8 guys. I just searched your name. I looked them up, and granted, I was already following them, and chances are I've talked to most of them. But I said, hey, I noticed you have Sē'bum product, whether it's gold or blue or purple or green. Tell me how your skin feels. Is it worth the cost? And the same thing that came back every time was, I don't know how to explain it, but the way my skin feels is incredible. One guy in particular, his name is drawing a blank at this point, but his handle is Nomeo Shaves. He just said the stuff is amazing, and that his like his little wrinkles have diminished, his skin complexion has cleared up. His wife stole the purple bottle from him. Yeah. So, just glowing reviews. There's not been a single person that I've talked to that said, meh, it's okay. Everyone said, yeah, you're paying a lot of money, but the benefits you're getting speak for themselves. And I think that's what people have to understand, is that you're not buying it for the scent and to look cool. This is ultimately an investment in your skin, as corny as that sounds.
I think we're a skincare company, and like I know Nomeo, I won't say his name for the sake of his privacy, but yeah. Well, it's like this, for any detractors out there who might think, oh, you're just paying for packaging. I've been in business for 1 year and 8 months. I'd be out of business if the product wasn't good. I mean, you can fool somebody once with good packaging, but then the show's over. It's over. If the product's bad, you're going to have no repeat sales, and you're going to have bad word of mouth. So, 1 year and 8 months, it's a short time to be in business, but it's enough to say that the product has staying power, and the growth is continuing.
And that's, somebody like me, or somebody who is used to having the several mail calls a month and getting, you get good results, but you get to a point where you're like, you hear the marketing, you hear it's so much different, you hear it's so much better, and then you see the price. So, there's a lot of expectation there. And immediately, as soon as I got the packaging and opened it and tried the serum, I immediately knew this was something different. And I knew this wasn't my typical shave of the day. And one thing I mentioned in my review too is that it was just an experience, and I don't know how to describe it. People said, how does it feel? I always refer to a post shave as glowing. My skin just feels hydrated and it's radiating. But there was something about using your soap and the serum that was just great. And at that point, cost meant nothing to me, because the feeling I got was just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, soap I don't consider soap good skincare. I think soap can be bad skincare, but I don't consider soap good skincare. Soap is more of a functional product to get you through a shave. Like, I kind of laughed at that residual slickness thing. Like, I've had some guys say, oh, well, you got to add more water, the residual slickness is there. But let's just say you think that the residual slickness is low. It's kind of a funny parameter to me. It sounds like something that like some wet shaver just had nothing to do. He's like, I need to think of a new parameter, because it's like, how about a parameter where we talk how the product works when it's not on your face? And I just think that's kind of funny. So you're judging the product when it's not being used. Like,
I'm gonna be honest. This is something that has just kind of stuck in the market. There's like this category. There's the denseness, the slickness, and the residual slickness is, I guess, it leaves some sort of film on your skin. So all you have, like for instance, me, I have issues around my jawline. So I personally will take a little bit of water, splash it on my face, and then I'll buff it, as they call it, where I just kind of glide the razor over my skin without having to reapply soap. And I've noticed, and like everybody else, some products have it, some don't. So necessarily, is that a game? Is that a deal killer? No, but it's something that, at least in the wet shaving community, it is something that is pointed out when it comes to reviews. So that's why I brought it up and thought that at least I need to let people know.
Well, I don't understand how you can have a good post shave if there was no residual slickness then. Like, how do you go from no residual slickness to a great post shave? So I'm a little, some of these categories, I'm particularly that one, I just don't get it. It's like, I got a car at the dealership, I let air out of the tires and it doesn't drive as well. Like, you got to use the product, but that's it's just kind of part of the culture, I guess, to have these parameters.
It's the culture, and like I personally, I don't put there's guys who do shave scores, put a number or a percentage or something like that on there. I personally don't feel that I can justify that because I'm just a person shaving. But it's like anything else. You get wine connoisseurs, you get coffee connoisseurs. Somebody who does something for long enough can tell the good from the bad, pick out things and notice things different. And for whatever reason, people, when they want to go buy a product, there's this guideline and there's this set, not necessarily rules, but there's these things, these boxes that need to be checked. And for whatever reason, initial slickness, residual slickness, post-shave, cushion, all that comes into play. So that's something that I look for. And I don't know why. I think a lot of it's my technique or people's technique that adding water to it or not adding enough or adding too much can just make the difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my main selling point is because, there's so many good soaps out there that I'm not trying to say, oh, I have the best soap. What I'm saying is I have the purest soap. And there is no shave score for purity. There's not a category for a product like mine.
No.
Because my soap is literally the purest soap on the market in the sense that I'm not using that chemically processed stearic acid. It's palm-free and it's nickel-free, nickel being a byproduct of the hydrogenation process to create stearic acid. A lot of guys have nickel allergies. They might not even know it. And there's actually nickel on your D razor blades. So if people know they have a nickel allergy, they either have to use an electric razor, or a stainless steel straight edge razor. So I'm getting rid of that purity. And a lot of people care about palm in products. And if you guys aren't familiar with why, because you probably heard like, oh, palm free, what's the big deal? The problem is palm is out of control because it's cheap, it's abundant, but it's only abundant because it's not sustainable. They're clearing rainforests to plant palm groves. And that's why people get all kind of eco-friendly and shy away from palm, because they're just tearing down the rainforests to plant palm, which obviously is responsible for the majority of oxygen on the planet. So it all ties in with my whole environmental thing for those people that don't want palm products. And, some people advertise palm-free soaps and they have stearic acid in it because they don't even realize that stearic acid is coming from palm. So if those things are valuable to purity and palm-free, these are other reasons to buy my soap. And we take a lot of time. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, there's a little lip and there's knurling on our soap jar to help you get a better grip.
Yeah.
We think of all these details like that to give you a better experience. And we hand dye our corks. Like you might not be able to tell that cork on your soap is dyed because you don't have a plain cork to compare it to. It's very slight tinge. But, everything we do takes extra time and extra steps. And we think it's worth it to bring the best of the best. And that's why we take time to do all these extra little steps.
That's great. So, guys, take all this into consideration while you're thinking about maybe purchasing Sē'bum. Look at this as not another mail call, but something you're doing to also help your overall skin health. It's a little different outside the wet shaving. And I said, personally, for somebody like me, both the products are amazing. But if you're going to, if you're a little apprehensive on what to start with, my personal suggestion is a serum, because that's what I think you're going to notice. And that's the thing, too, is if you buy the serum, I'm not going to use your soap every day. I love my collection. I love variety. But the cool thing is that I know that after I've used whatever soap I want, I'm going to put your serum on, and my skin's going to feel good.
Sure. I mean, if the whole purity factors you don't really care, which I know a lot of people don't care about that. If you don't care about that, I'd say you can live without my soap, but you can't live without the serum once you start using it. I mean, it is amazing.
I use it twice a day. I use it once in the morning when I wake up. I put some in my beard, and I put some on before I go to bed, or depending on when I shave. I usually shave in the evening. But, I look forward to that part of the day and adding that serum to my routine, and I think it's made a lot of difference within just a little over a week. So, like I mentioned during my review, once I run out, I will be repurchasing the serum. I may be looking at the blue only because I have a very soft spot for the color of blue, and I really want that. Somebody says, is your serum okay for sensitive skin? But I assume more than likely, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the biggest customer base for me,
exactly.
Guys with messed up skin. So, it'll make a big difference.
Do you have anything else you want to add? We have 5 minutes before Instagram kicks us off.
No, I hope shooting from the hip, you kind of think you have all this stuff in your head, and once you get on camera, especially when you have camera difficulties and I have to do this back on camera,
hey,
it threw me off a bit.
We looked all right.
hopefully I shedded some light onto everything about the brand and what it represents.
Oh, I do have one question. I forgot to answer this earlier, and I apologize. What's the custom option all about?
Sure. Well, I think there's a lot of pressure for artisans to keep popping out products to get you to buy again, because it is about variety. And once you own their soap, if you're rotating other soaps, you're never going to finish it. So you're never going to buy it again. So I think there's this tremendous pressure on artisans to keep releasing new soaps, new splashes, just to keep the sales model driving.
Sure.
And I'm not going to do that. Like, I have a few more products planned, but I'm going to cap it out probably around 9. Because the thing, you get bored as an artist. You get bored making the same stuff. Like the creativity's gone once you start making new products. And I feel like customs gives me an opportunity to keep the creative side of me happy, and at the same time allowing people that want to have their own scent. It's an expensive service, but it's an expensive process. Like if you take the full service, I mean, I'm going to sit down with you. You're going to take a survey. We're going to find out, what are your goals? Are they aromatherapy or are they just scent? What's your skin type? What's important to you? And then from that survey, we're going to come up with samples, and then we're going to do testings. You're going to have the same sample set at your house. I'll have the same sample set at my house. I send you a whole kit out with gloves, test strips, everything. Then we exchange notes. I mean, it's a whole process. It's not just you come out to me and say, make me this, and I make it. It's like you're the co-creator of your own shave set. And you do that until you're happy. And then from there, we go into production. You get to pick your packaging, too. The color glass, the color wax, the color nipple decanter, all that stuff. You get to be a part of the whole process. So it's very customized to your taste, both from your skin perspective, your scent perspective, and your packaging taste.
That's awesome. That's super awesome.
Yeah, I just got my first job, actually. 4 guys got together, and they want a vetiver scent, which is our basic plan, where it doesn't take all that creativity and co-counseling. It's just make me vetiver. I sent them out samples of different vetivers, and they picked their favorite vetiver. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope that catches fire. I don't know that it will catch fire, but it's there. And hopefully it'll keep my creativity going. And people that are looking for something, like a real royal service. That's how I look at it. Like I'm treating
That's super cool. I didn't even, and I'm glad you brought that. I'm glad Mendez brought that up because I had no clue. I must have missed that on your website. It's a good find, and that's super awesome. But we've got 2 minutes before Instagram kicks us off. So red carpet's yours. Rick, thanks for coming on. This has been great. Is there anything upcoming you want to talk about?
No, because every time I talk about new products, people keep bugging me, when's it going to be released? When's it going to be released? And I can't shut my mouth. It's so hard to be quiet. But I need to learn that self-control where don't talk about it, just do it and release it. Sure. But it's hard. But no, I think we covered everything.
Perfect. Rick, thank you so much for taking your time and dealing with your camera situation. You've been a trooper. I appreciate it. We've had a great interview. Let's do this again sometime. Guys, check out his website, Sē'bum Gold. Check out his products. I'm a true believer. I think it's something that you guys should look into, and think of your overall skin health. So, Rick, thanks again. I appreciate it. We'll talk again.
All right. Bye, Brian, and thanks to everybody for watching. All right.
Appreciate
bye
it.
now.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. This has been incredible. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned some things as well. I will catch you later. Love you all.